Ever wonder what being tased feels like in Bigfoot research or having a Bigfoot encounter where you get tased? Here you go. So what did we just watch? Well, that was me enduring some kind of frequency that is above and beyond what is natural occurring in the environment. Right now we've got at least one Sasquatch still there, and one of them sounded like he pushed a tree over when he left. Let's check it out again. Listen for the interference. It's literally started as a tickle in my chest and then almost brought me to my knees. My heart started fluttering and I felt like I was going to have a heart attack. Check it out. And then just like that, it's over. Watch this. It just clears up. So right here, it's as if it moved on or I stepped out of it for a second, and then I take a step to my left further and it gets stronger, like I'm moving under it or around whatever it is. Well, there it is, some kind of electromagnetic interference.
I was about 5 or 6. We were in California and we were having a little picnic in Sequoia National Park, 3 Rivers, something like that. And they called for a band. Everybody yelling in the park's closing down. Well, there was a sighting of one. He had me by the shirt tails and was dragging me on the ground. And all I could see was his feet. And they were about this damn big and fur and smelled. I was kicking and screaming, and he wasn't going to let me go. And then all of a sudden he heard people yelling, "Park's closing down, park's closing down, everybody out." And then all of a sudden he just stopped, dropped me, and took off.
So what year was that?
To be very honest, I'm not good at years.
And
so
that was
about 5
Sequoia?
or 6 years old, yeah. And then after that, people started looking for me, my family and everything, and it was like, I was shooken up. I didn't know what to say. Some people found me, put me in a van, and took me down to where the parking area and stuff, the campus were and stuff, and anybody know this kid? And sure enough, my father said, yeah, he's ours. He's been missing for a while. And
how long do you think, how far do you think he carried you?
Probably about 10 minutes. Yeah. Did you just hear that?
I did actually. Dude, you got lucky, man.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine being that young and having something like that happen. It's got to be traumatic, man. I know we had conversations with him about going in the bush in the years that followed all that as he was growing up, and he said he had to force himself to get back out there and conquer it. As mainstream science continues to avoid these encounters and eyewitnesses' statements as they come out of the field, and act and behave as if none of this is happening, we're continuing the study. And as we learn to identify what's actually there. In the beginning, we didn't really realize how different they look, the soft tissue. They have very different looking faces. And the faces, along with the color of the skin, aid these creatures in blending in to a degree that they really do confuse most people into thinking that it's just plant life, when in fact it's a 700 to 900 pound hominoid that, if it stood up, would probably be close to 9 feet tall. Here you can see an individual in Central Florida, and he's strategically positioned at the end of a long straightaway in the creek bed. You can just make out his eyes there. Let's zoom in and take a look at that. We are, and we're looking at this individual here, and this is going to be the top of his head right here. And we've got that apex kind of thing, and then you can see this is a brow. The other brow's behind this stick, incidentally, right? He's got a stick sticking up, a single stick in front of his face. Side of his nostril. So here's the middle point of his face. You're getting half on this side. The other half's got little plants, and then there's some plants in front of it. But if you look at what's really going on here, you can see this guy's got that nocturnal thing going on. And as we advance frames, you can literally see the guy's cheek line. This is all a part of his cheek line. This is the nose behind this. And just looking at it, it looks like maybe Gene Simmons is hiding in the bushes here in Central Florida. But this particular creature, you can see this is the cheek line on the side of his nostril. So his eyeball is right here. This is going to be the brow. And the other ball is right here. His whole head, his whole face is right there. His mouth and his lip line. He looks like he's got his lips pursed a little bit. And then it kind of changes as we go through these frames. But you can see he's in there, and he's laying there watching us. His nose is up. See, they have that ability with their skin color and the shape of the soft tissue. That's their nostrils and the skin on their face. You can literally see the little bit of his mouth there. But they can change the shape of their face. See, here we can get a look at the line of the mouth. You can see it perfectly. Comes across. This is a Sasquatch back in here. It's a big one. This log was actually pretty big. We could probably walk across it. So I don't know how big this thing is, but it's one of those creatures. So it has a potential to be enormous. Just looking at the frames, you can see he's laying there. Why would he be laying here? It's a long straightaway. He can watch whatever is walking down either side of this creek for 100 yards from that observation spot. And that's why he's there, in my opinion. He's watching us. You can see it. It looks like, Bruce Banner again. Except for this. This is a place we'd never been in Central Florida. We went there with Ed at his recommendation. This is where he hunts. And he's had encounters in here and things screaming and all this crazy stuff out there. We pull into the place, and it's got crosses all over the place, man. He says people think there's demons in here. So we're hanging out at the Intercoastal doing a spot of fishing today, and Melanie took a little stroll down the beach. We were down towards that other point about halfway, and she comes upon a set of tracks. Each one of them clearly displaying signs of a mid-tarsal ridge. This particular spot is about a mile due east of where we filmed the banner creatures. Let's take a look.
So I was walking along, and the first time Mark and I came in here, we actually got to smell and had hints that they are in the area. And I was around and found a couple prints.
Look at this, guys.
A mid-tarsal break.
Look at this little hominoid track, man.
Which is definitely a tightrope.
And we got the second right up here. Oh, buddy. And then there's a third where you can see dug in right there. But look at this. Incredible track, man. Look at that. Look at that, man. So we're a mile east of where we filmed Banner on the Intercoastal.
If you look at this track real quick, what you can see is that it has the indentations that relate to other Sasquatch tracks, adult tracks. And that little indentation is indicative of a mid-tarsal break. And you can clearly see it's the same in this infant's track. It's incredible, guys. Look at the ridge. That's mid-tarsal. They're here.
On the horseshoe where I seen the figure and then I heard the wood banging, that's when I came back here. This is where my chair was. I got back to my chair, there was no noises following me out, dead silent coming, which I came out right here, shot across, got in my chair. As soon as I turned my back and I sat down, I'm right-handed, so I'm hunting right here and here. That's the reason for the angled facing to where I've got a shot. I sit down, I lay the muzzle loader across my leg, and directly behind me, all this was dog fennel. It's just as thick now as it was, but it was dog fennel in here. And I hear what sounded like a dove. The cooing sounded that a dove does. It was so loud, my ears were crackling like a blown speaker. If you ever heard a blown radio speaker, it hurt my ears. And he done that twice. Well, I got up and turned around, and I didn't see anything. There was nothing to see, nothing standing up above this stuff, but everything is about this thick or taller. As I watched it, the coo, I thought it may have come up from up high, but then it done it again, and I realized it's right there. I mean, it was right in, it should have been in my line of sight, 50 yards or so roughly from me, but it was so thick I couldn't see into it. And that was enough. It scared me. So what I did, I folded my chair up, took it off the tree, I threw it over my shoulder, and to go out, I've got to go 140, 150 yards to the logging road up here. I take a left-hand turn and 700 plus yards to get back to where I make that turn, and I got 50 yards to the truck. As I was going up here, this thing started running through these pines. It was silent until I got up to the point of wherever he was standing. When I got even with him, he started making that noise, woo, 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 and he tore out running. That's due south, and he tore out running due south about 50 yards, and he stopped. I couldn't go anywhere. I had to go that way. I had to go south to get back to the road. That stuff was so thick you can't go that direction. So I continued. I kept walking, looking. I never seen him. It was kind of late in the afternoon, dark under the trees, but on the roads was lit up. The sun was still out, but it was kind of back a little bit. Well, he done this all the way up until I got to the road. He never stepped out on the road. He never crossed it. I made my left-hand turn, and I heard him running. As I was headed that direction, he stayed in this block of woods. But I heard him when he took off running, and he was doing that Indian call, and he ran past me, and then he'd get about 50 yards in front of me, and he'd stop. And the sound of the footsteps, you could hear the thuds, you could hear the twigs breaking. He just plowed through everything. When he'd stop running, it was dead silent. There was no breathing, and he was running. I mean, moving like a deer moves, that fast. I took off down the road, and as soon as I would get parallel with him, he would take off again. And it was dark under the trees, under the canopy. I couldn't see him. I could hear him, and he was loud, but when he'd stop, there was nothing. No hard breathing, anything. And I got down about 200 or 300 yards down the road, and he constantly doing that. I got so scared I called Kim on the phone and to tell her what was going on. I said, I got one of these things messing with me now. I'm coming home. If I don't make it, you know where I'm at. And she heard it on the phone, that Indian call. But he followed me all the way down. When I got to the turn going to the truck, he never stepped out on the road. Never made a noise. There was never any hard breathing. It was silent every time he stopped. I mean, there was nothing. He wasn't out of breath. And I don't understand. 700 plus yards. He ran the whole way.